Hey, what is up guys, it's Thunderstruck115, and today, the FTC's request for a preliminary injunction against Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been denied. This means that Microsoft and Activision can finally close the deal on the 14th. Additionally, in response, the CMA over in the UK has decided to pause litigation regarding the deal in order to work something out with Microsoft. Yet another instance of the British not able to do anything right until the Americans step in. I'm pretty sure everybody except the PlayStation fanboys were expecting this to go through eventually, and I also think that the majority of people that aren't PlayStation fanboys are glad that this goes through, because not only will it mean games like Call of Duty comes to more platforms such as Nvidia's streaming service, Amazon's streaming service, and even the Nintendo Switch, but it also means that Activision's games can come day and date to Game Pass. But the Sony Ponies, on the other hand, are less than thrilled, and there was an overflow of salt on Twitter to be had. So let's waste no further time and take a look.
I guess this one's gonna get appealed. It became very obvious at trial that Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley is your standard boomer moron. Hard to imagine she didn't make significant legal errors.
No, the only thing that was obvious from actually taking a look at the trial itself was just how fucking incompetent the FTC was and just how awful their arguments were. They literally tried to argue that we shouldn't take the Nintendo Switch into consideration for the console market when it is literally the best-selling current-gen console right now. Plus, Microsoft has stated that upon acquiring Activision that they're gonna make a commitment to bring Call of Duty over to the Switch. So really, the most infuriating part of the trial is that the FTC is clearly wasting my tax dollars.
At FTC, please appeal the Microsoft Activision decision that the incompetent judge made today. This deal is anti-consumer, and myself and many others want you to continue the good fight on behalf of gamers and consumers. Hashtag stop Microsoft.
Ah yes, this deal is so anti-consumer that it's going to cause Activision's games to come to even more platforms than ever before. I want to remind everybody that Microsoft has made commitments to bring Call of Duty over to the Nintendo Switch, Nvidia streaming service, and Amazon streaming service, and I think there's a few others as well. Meanwhile, they are not going to be taking it away from any platforms that currently have it, including PlayStation, for at least 10 years. Oh, and they'll be coming to Game Pass day one, so if you don't feel like dropping $70 every year, you can instead subscribe to Game Pass and play it that way. Additionally, most people have wanted this deal to go through. Most of the ones that didn't are PlayStation fanboys, and you should never take console fanboys seriously. And while I certainly have seen those that aren't console fanboys that have been opposed to this deal, those people are the fucking minority.
They don't give a shit about selling consoles anymore. They are only full blast on Game Pass only. Why would you pay $70 for COD when you can sub to Game Pass? Everyone cheering on is short-sighted and doesn't understand how the market will turn.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but the gaming market has slowly been turning to subscription services for the past few years. Obviously, Game Pass is at the forefront since it's the one that does it the best, but there have also been other services like PlayStation Now, EA Play, Ubisoft Connect, Nvidia GeForce Now, and several others that I'm probably forgetting. Additionally, if you don't want to sub to Game Pass, you don't fucking have to. You can still buy the game for $70 to own it if you want. Putting it on Game Pass only gives people more options to buy and play the game, which that's never a bad thing.
If the FTC was working properly like it used to, Microsoft would be forced to sell off all game studios, Xbox and DirectX. Windows has held a PC gaming monopoly for more than 2 decades. We are tired of it.
Alright, that last one is a straight up lie, and everybody with a functioning brain knows it. Like, have you never heard of fucking Valve? Because ever since the launch of Steam, they have been the biggest platform for digital distribution of games on PC. Additionally, companies like EA, Epic, and Ubisoft also have their own digital distribution platforms on PC. I also want to point out that Microsoft's market share in the console business, even with Activision, is still below Sony, so by that logic, Sony would also be forced to sell off PlayStation and its game studios. So where's that same energy, motherfucker?
Keep that same energy.
So instead of making a valid argument about consolidation hurting the entertainment industry, the FTC apparently just echoed Sony's pissing and moaning about Call of Duty, an argument that emails confirmed was a deliberate bad faith ploy. No fucking wonder it got dismissed. Yeah, it got dismissed because the FTC's argument was fucking dog shit. And I also want to point out that Sony has been doing this shit for years, locking down third-party content to be exclusive to PlayStation, and yet for some reason it's only a problem when Xbox does it. Interesting how the mind of a fanboy works. You know, they really need to learn how to
keep that same energy.
Oh great, another corporate monopoly. Just what gamers need. More greedy companies trying to squeeze every penny out of them. But hey, at least we can all look forward to more microtransactions and unfinished games, right? Okay, genuine question. Besides Halo Infinite and Redfall, what games have Microsoft released, like, in the past 5 or so years that have been unfinished? Because I genuinely cannot think of any. Like, say what you want about the quality of the games themselves, but Microsoft has been pretty good about releasing games in a finished state. Again, with the exceptions of Halo Infinite, which lacked a lot of features and content at launch, and Redfall, which was, well, it was fucking Redfall, do we need to say more? As for the microtransactions, Activision has always been fucking worse than Microsoft in this regard. Say what you want about Halo Infinite's microtransactions, but at least that shit is cosmetic only in a free-to-play game. Activision, on the other hand, is charging $70 for Call of Duty, and they're still putting weapons in the Battle Pass, which do alter the gameplay. And people still won't buy Xbox. Okay, I'm just gonna point this out. Call of Duty, the most popular shooter franchise on planet fucking Earth, coming to Game Pass day one will be a major reason for people to buy an Xbox or subscribe to Game Pass. If you think that people aren't gonna flock to Game Pass in droves to get access to Call of Duty, then I'm sorry, but you're delusional. Microsoft wins, not by producing great industry-defining games from their own studios, but by buying the publishers who have already done so. But when Sony does the exact same thing by locking down third-party content to be exclusive for PlayStation, not a fucking peep from this motherfucker, outside of maybe gloating that it isn't on Xbox. Like, this is the equivalent of that one kid in school who would attack others, but then he'd play the victim the moment that the person they attacked dared to swing back and defend themselves. And what's even funnier is that the person who posted this, MBG, later deleted his Twitter account due to getting ratioed so fucking hard on his tweets regarding this situation. Alright, so slight correction, MBG did not actually delete his Twitter account in regards to this deal going through. The person I'm thinking of that did that was Saltiest Gaming. Xbox fans hyped to play multi-plat games that were already on their system regardless. Yep, but you know what's gonna make it taste even fucking better? The fact that you don't have to spend $70 for each new release and can instead just play them on Game Pass if you want. Which, yeah, that is a very tangible reason for wanting this deal to go through. But don't you worry, because now their multi-plat games are gonna come to even more platforms, such as the Nintendo Switch, Nvidia GeForce Now, Amazon streaming service, and xCloud. As expected, unless the FTC appeals, Microsoft will own Activision Blizzard. Now we get to see how right I am about what happens when too much of the industry is owned by too few. Hint, it won't be good for gamers or the industry. I feel like a broken record by saying this, but these people seem to have no fucking issue when Sony does the same shit. Also, I fail to see how Activision's games coming to more platforms and being given more ways to purchase them, i.e. Xbox Game Pass, is a bad thing. Also, I just can't imagine that Activision under Microsoft can somehow be worse than Activision is currently.
Lol, sorry man, just saw that the FTC will continue to fight this. In the coming days, the FTC will continue going against the deal. People are celebrating too early. The CMA is still a thing.
Yeah, the CMA is still a thing. A thing that bended the knee the second that they saw the FTC lost in court. Also, I feel the need to point out that both Microsoft and Activision are American companies. The worst that the CMA can do is just prevent Microsoft from operating in the UK, but considering how strong they are in terms of bolstering that country's economy, I doubt they're gonna fucking do that. And that's assuming that they still block the deal, which, considering how quickly they folded after they saw that the FTC lost, I doubt they are. As for the FTC, while it is true that they can file an appeal, that appeal doesn't stop Microsoft and Activision from closing the deal.
You cats do realize the judge violated a long-standing rule. Her son works for Microsoft and she should have recused herself. That's all the FTC needs to appeal up.
This is something that I saw get brought up quite a bit, so let me explain something. Yes, it is true that Judge Corley has a son that works at Microsoft. However, before the trial even began, she disclosed this connection to the FTC, and yet the FTC still said to move forward. In fact, the FTC were the ones that even chose this judge in the first place, when Microsoft were the ones that wanted a different judge. The FTC knew about this ahead of time, before the trial, and yet they still chose not to pick a different judge. That is all Microsoft needs to bring up if the FTC tries to use that in an appeal. And with that, we have reached the end of this video, so if you enjoyed, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more, and tell me what you think of this merger finally going through, and about the Ponies' meltdown over it going through. Anyways, that's it. Peace!